data analysis much faster. We really tried to look at the kind of the broader EPM processes and said, hey, how can we make things faster, more intelligent? How can we help people do their jobs more effectively? And that's what this feature is all about. As a part of the deep dive, we'll give you a demonstration. We'll also be talking about some implementation considerations for insights. At the end of the presentation, we'll also just spend a couple of slides talking a little about another feature called ML model import, or machine learning model import. Importantly, we're just going to scratch the surface on that. Stay tuned. We're going to have a full webcast on that probably later in the December timeframe. But all of these, both these features as well as other features we're working on here are part of our broader effort we call IPM, or Intelligent Performance Management. And it really is our investments in emerging technology like machine learning, like data science and pattern recognition technology. Anything we can be doing to leverage this emerging technology to benefit the broader EPM process. And it really is designed to benefit all of EPM, not just planning or budgeting or forecasting, but really everything across EPM. So with that, let's get into the topic. So as mentioned, the feature here that's coming to, or is already in your development environments or test environments here with the November release is IPM Insights, or Insights just for short there. Insights, again, is a pattern recognition technology. And the scope of what we're trying to do with this is if you think about what people do every month or every week, all your users, as new actuals come into the system, users around today, they spend lots of time doing analysis of the data. And analysis of the data means that they're looking at data in SmartView maybe, or they're looking at dashboards, or they're looking at reports. At the end of the day, they're trying to look at all the different data coordinates across the databases and looking for patterns like variances or like trends or like anomalies, things of that nature. The thing is that is a lot of time spent by a lot of people. At least hours of time every time you load data per user on the system. And really what we asked ourselves years ago is we said, hey, is this something that can be automated? Traditionally you thought about, hey, I spend less time manipulating data and more time doing data analysis. But we're really challenging that and saying, hey, is data analysis truly value-added time spent? Can we automate some of that? And that's precisely what this technology does. First off, the technology does what we call signal detection. It looks across all of your data, and it can be tuned, of course, to look at particular parts of the cubes and so forth. But it looks across all your data, and it looks for these signals or patterns. Patterns like trends, patterns like variances, patterns like correlations, and anomalies and so forth. And why it's valuable is that although the human eye is pretty good at spotting trends and variances, an algorithm can do it much faster, obviously much faster, almost instantaneously. And then importantly, the human eye is not good at looking at certain things like correlations. It's not immediately intuitive when there's actually some bias in your numbers, for example. And it's sometimes difficult to even spot an anomaly when you've got a lot of variability in your numbers, or maybe some seasonality and trend in your numbers. Even anomaly can be difficult to spot with the human eye. So we believe that signal detection, finding the the patterns in your data, is very valuable. Second thing it does is it does a root cause analysis. It'll give a verbose description of what it's found. And then in the third part, insight discovery, it actually looks for anything additional it can tell you about the data. So for example, if it finds a big variance in your data between forecasts and actuals, it might calculate and explain that there's historically there's been a bias with these particular data coordinates. Over on the right-hand side of the page, you can see a screenshot of the dashboard. So you'll see something new showing up in your test environments here called Insights, and you'll be seeing a demo of that in a moment. There are three types of insights that that are available here in November, and we're working on more insight types. We're really excited about this. But the first three insights that are available with the engine are, first off, the forecast variance and bias insight. That's what we would consider more of a backwards looking for insight type. So it looks back at your historical data and your forecast data and it looks for variances. So you don't have to. So it'll find any kind of material variances, and you can tune the materiality. You get to, as a administrator or user of the system, you get to be able to determine what's material by different parts of the business. And it also calculates bias on that. So if it finds major variances and says, well, there continues to be pretty regular variances here with this particular forecaster, it actually calculates that bias. And that's just using a common data science type technique. The second insight type is what we call a prediction insight type, and that's more forward-looking. So this is Insight Engine is designed to work with our predictions, whether it's our existing predictive planning or auto-predict capability, or whether it's our machine learning that we're building into the product. This insight type looks at a prediction and it compares it to a manual forecast, and it finds variances between those two. And that's important because, again, predictions can be great, but sometimes forecasters can be, obviously predictions might not be perfect. So you want to know when predictions and forecasts really vary significantly. Why that's important is it allows you as a reviewer, maybe in corporate FP&A or different, maybe in the controller's organization, you want to be aware when there's a manual forecast coming in that is wildly off of what a machine prediction is. Maybe the manual forecast is still more accurate. There might be some good reasons for that, but you should at least be aware when there's a big gap between prediction and forecast. And the third type insight is an anomaly insight. Anomalies are, again, maybe you would think pretty easy to spot in data, but depending on the nature of your data, it can actually be hard to find true anomalies. And we'll explain that here in a moment, why anomaly can sometimes be difficult to spot. We'll give a good example of that. But these are the three insight types, and we really think that from a broader process perspective, and just to talk about it in the context of planning for a moment, again, we think insights helps really all parts of the business, whether you're in the controller's organization or tax, or you're looking at profitability or account reconciliations. But in the context of planning, you think about the broader planning life cycle. You're not done when your budget or your forecast is done. Typically, in the broader planning process, you're looking at other things like profitability analysis, looking at fully loaded costs and so forth. On the extreme end, you're also preparing things like your management packages and your board briefing books and so forth, so collaborating around the numbers. But in between that, kind of the planning and that final reporting you do for briefing your management, is this phase that we call insight discovery. And that's really where we think we can greatly reduce the amount of time spent and improve the quality of the analysis that's done by leveraging this pattern detection capability. So let's talk for a few moments, just a couple slides on why we think we can save time and why we think we can improve analysis. First off, let's talk about why data analysis is so time consuming. Why is it, why does it take hours to sort through your data and really understand your data every time there's new actuals that come into the system? And the reason is there's typically a lot of data there. And you can't just look in an analytical system like EPM, you can't just look at the total company or a total region or a total products and know that everything in the business is doing well. In this example, you'll see that you could look at total company and maybe everything looks fine. Maybe you look at the West region and everything looks good, and region C even everything looks good. But at that lowest level of detail, this is an example of a retail business. Maybe you're looking at the lowest level of detail. It might be stores. You might be having one store that's doing fantastic and another store that's doing equally as bad, but it offsets each other. So at the different consolidated levels, you don't see those issues. And both of those are important. You want to know when things are going really bad, but you also want to know when things are going really good, because you want to nurture your business when it's going, when maybe there's a business that really is about ready to take off. You want to make sure that the funds are there to help that part of the business take off. So what that means is that there's potentially millions of data coordinates that the human eyes need to look at every month or every week as you load new actuals. Over in the bottom right-hand corner is just a very simple example. A very simple system. If your dimensionality is maybe something like 100 accounts, 200 products, 100 entities, 50 locations, relatively small system there. That's not a big amount of data there. You do the math on that, that results in 100 million potential coordinates. Now, clearly, that's not necessarily every coordinate's going to have data. There's the concept of data sparsity. So you would probably reduce that by at least 50%, if not more. But still, that results in millions and millions of records, millions of coordinates that human eyes need to look at. And that is a lot of data, and that takes a lot of time. But machines can do that in a matter of minutes. For the entire cube, you can process and look for these patterns automatically as data is loaded into your system and deliver those insights out to the end users that care about them. And what else is another consideration? As I alluded to, some patterns are difficult for the human eye to spot. So here's a good example of a pattern that can be difficult for the human eye to spot. Here you can see this is a classic data science kind of research here. This dates back many, many years. You can see the reference down below, principles and practice from Hindman and the second name there. What you're looking at there at the top portion of that example is you're looking at maybe typical data, volume of a product sales or volume of equipment orders. And it's hard to spot what's truly anomalous about those data points. Where is there an anomaly? Where is there something you should be digging into? And the reason it's difficult is because you have to back out things like trend and seasonality before you really have a good understanding of what residual anomaly is. And that's hard for the human eye to do, but it's quite easy for an algorithm to do. And that's exactly, again, a good example of the kind of thing that a pattern detection technology like Insights can do much more effectively than a human. So particularly if you have a volatility in your business or seasonality in your business, or things are moving like with different trends, spotting things like anomalies can be difficult to do. So hopefully that gives you a little bit of insight into what insights are and what they why we believe that they're going to be helpful. I think with no more further ado, let's get into the demonstration. And for that, I'm going to pass the control over here to Selva to give us a demonstration of the product.
Thanks, Mark. So, hi, everyone. So let's see Insights in action. So here we have a sample demo application. We have IPM cluster here. Underneath, we see Insights. So this is the place where the list of all insights generated for any end user planner is presented in a dashboard. And configure section is the place where, as an admin, we go there and set up creation of new insights for specific intersections that we are interested in. Before getting started, let's talk about why we need insights. In this demo application, our objective is to analyze revenue data for a specific entity called Sales West and identify areas where the organization as a whole needs to focus to get better at forecasting numbers for that entity, Sales West. While the focus of this demonstration is to explore revenue data, but insights can be set up for any data across any account. There is no restriction as such. Now, before seeing the insights, let's quickly take a look at the underlying data, which we have put together in this insights data page. For Sales West entity, we've got 4 different revenue accounts and 7 different products. We've got the historical data, which is loading up, and the future data as well. So this data is being used for the analysis by the Insight engine. Yeah. So we have the historical data for last couple of years. You have the historical actuals. We have the historical forecast or plans made in the past. We also have the future data populated using predictive engine for the next 6 months. So that's the focus of our analysis, and this is the scope of data that we're going to use for this demo. And if we go there, so we need to go to IPM and Insights to see how insights are going to be presented to the end users, the planners. which opens this dashboard where we see the list of insights. And this table has all the insights generated for the end user. Each row in this table represents an insight. And there are many columns that provide a lot of information about each insight. For example, priority, whether it's a high priority insight or medium priority. And it also talks about the magnitude of impact, how big or significant that insight is, how serious it should be when we look at the insight in percentage terms and also in absolute amount. So this is how big the deviation was or the anomaly was, etc. And the exact POV each insight belongs to, the type of analysis, whether it's about the historical forecast variance and bias, or it's an anomaly, or it's an insight about the prediction. So it talks about that. We have a small description about the insight and also a link to a more detailed analysis, which we'll see in a moment. And the status, whether the insight is open or it has been reviewed and taken action by the user, the created date, and etc. It has all the insights nicely presented in this manner. And this page also contains the search bar at the top, where we can search for specific keyword that we are interested in. So if you look for consumer, then it filters the entire table beneath and shows relevant results. We can type for any string and then filter or narrow down the list of insights to explore or navigate further. Below the search bar, we have the filter chips. We can filter the insights using these chips by created date, filter by a time period, or we can filter by the type of insight. Do you want to look at the anomalies, or do you want to look at the prediction insight? We can do all that. So we can also filter by the status, show me all open insights, or I want to look at all the previously closed ones. We can do that. We can filter by priority. I want to look at all high priority insights. We can do that. And also, interestingly, we can filter by the percentage of impact. So I want to look at insights where the impact has been 30% or above. We can do that. So there are 3 insights where it is higher than 30%. We can do that. We can also filter by absolute impact. So I want to look at everything that's above $50,000. We can filter. We can use that filter as well. So this overview insights page shows all insights available for the end users. They can understand more about the insights. They can filter and focus on specific areas that the user might be interested in. And so the next step is to dig deeper on any insight. For example, we can take a look at one insight type. We can start off with anomaly. So there are a couple of anomaly insights. So it shows a very high level summary of what this is about and where there is an anomaly. But as a user, we can click here, or in this action menu, we can click view details to open a more detailed view, what we call as insight analyzer view, which will open a new tab, dynamic tab. So in addition to the main page, this is the detailed view or analyzer view of anomaly insight. At the top, we have the title. It says that consumer channel account in June FY21 had an anomaly. And that particular point was 28.9% higher than what was expected. So we see the title there, and we have the data presented in this chart. As we see, the most recent time period had a value which was too high. So it was high. This seems to be an outlier, even after considering the fluctuations that happened in the past. For the last couple of years, there were changes, but still, this number seems to be an outlier, too high. For the user, this information is presented. Take a look at this. This looks to be an anomaly. As a user, we go here, we understand, we recognize and consume this fact. We can also add a comment. As a user, I can go and add a comment. Okay. Good that was highlighted. Okay, so we need to plan to accommodate this fact. We can add a comment and post there. So this is available for us to consume, available for my colleague and other team members to know that for this intersection, so this particular thing happened, anomaly or outlier happened. So let's be careful or cognizant of this fact. So that's anomaly. So we can also use this very useful feature to dig deeper. For example, we can drag and focus on a particular area. So we can focus on a 6-month or 7-month time period. We can zoom and focus more on that time period. We can also drag like this and explore throughout the entire period. So we can add a comment. After consuming the fact, we can also dismiss, saying that I've got it, I've understood the point. Now I'm okay with this. Let's go and close this particular thing. I consumed it. That's also possible. We can also open this as an ad hoc form. So when insights are presented, it doesn't just stop there. So we also want to make it possible that users might want to do further analysis using an ad hoc form. So the entire intersection with the complete data package used for the analysis is taken and presented here. Then all possible further analysis can be done using this ad hoc page. That's also possible. So that's anomaly insight. If you go to next insight type, probably we can take a look at forecast variance and bias insight. Yeah, let's take a look at this one for a detailed view of forecast variance and bias insight. As Mark pointed out, this looks at historical data and compares historical actuals with historical forecast. And it says for this particular POV, electronics, sales fest, and product X, the difference between, or the deviation between historical actual and historical forecast was significant. And that variance seems to be 34.5% for the entire 2-year period. For the 2 years that were considered for the analysis, the deviation has been significant, and it seems to be statistically valid and significant. The information is presented here, where you see the blue line, it's refers to the forecast, the other one refers to the actuals. And we see that there were a lot of fluctuations in the past. Overall, the difference has been widening, or the deviation between forecast and actual has been getting more and more significant. So same information is presented in the table also for further consumption and analysis. Similar to the previous one, we can use this scroller to dig deeper on specific time period to understand what's happening, etc. But on the whole, this is for the end users or the planners to recognize that this intersection, this POV has some requires additional time. So the forecast has been, the actual has been much lower than the forecast, and it seems to be significant and consistent. So that could be a bit of over forecasting happening. So when you go and plan numbers for this particular intersection, take a moment and then do required adjustments, so that going forward, we try to reduce the gap and get better at forecasting numbers for this POV. So that's the objective outcome or key takeaway that's coming up from this insight type, forecast variance and bias. It's all about historical data and how we can make better use of the historical data. So if you go to the third insight type, it's about the future data. So we can pick one and get to a detailed view. It says that consumer channel, sales fest, and Sentinel custom notebook, what the prediction engine says seems to be much higher than what you have forecasted. Please go and take a look at your number. So there is an avenue for you to reconsider those numbers. Information is presented here. We also have the information here. This is the current forecast made by me as a planner, and this is what the system recommends. As a user, I go and take a look at the number. I understand. Probably see that there is a point. Maybe there's a bit of under forecasting. It calls for calls for a revision, I need to override those numbers. Either I can accept what is being recommended by the engine. I can click here, select this particular base prediction, the most likely predictions recommended by the engine. I can click here and then click update. At that time, I completely take what is being recommended. I take the entire recommendation as it is, and then that would be copied to my current forecast. I completely accept what is being recommended. In some cases, you won't be able to do it 100%. So probably you want to take that recommendation, the prediction as a starting point, and then you want to further make some changes. It makes sense directionally, but I don't want to go for 50K for July, maybe 45K. I can do some overrides on top of it. After that, I click update. This prediction along with the override would be taken, and then that would be pasted to my forecast. Overall, whenever our current my forecast numbers are little away from what is being predicted, we have a chance to look at those specific points and make adjustments as needed. So this is about the third insight type, prediction insight. Overall, it helps users to analyze data, both historical data as well as future data, and pick intersections where it matters the most, where the data needs some significant quality time from the planners. It presents those intersections in a very intuitive manner for further action. So this is from the end user standpoint, how these are getting analyzed and presented in an automated fashion. And so if we go to, as an admin, we can go to configure section. I'll very quickly cover how, as an admin, we can set this up. We come to configure section. We can look at this create button, which will open this configure interface. This section covers four simple steps. Number one, we want to define what we want to do. Either we want to generate predictions or we want to generate insights. This entire configure flow is seamlessly integrated to our current auto predict capability, as we see on the left hand side. We can uncheck all of them and then go for a pure auto predict job. That's also possible. We can ignore prediction and then go for a pure insight job, and then we can do a combination of both. We can do all of them. So when we say that we are interested in generating insights, we can select which insight type we are interested in: forecast variance and bias, prediction insight, anomaly. We define what we want to do. The next step number 2, is about having necessary data available for all different insight types. Since we selected all three insight types, it requires both historical data as well as future data. If you want to analyze the historical data to come up with historical variance, forecast variance, and bias, you want to compare the actuals with forecast, historical actual with forecast. You want to define the entire slice where it is lying. And then when you want to compare your current, your future forecast, you want to provide where exactly the prediction data is available. So you want to provide that as well. You can pick very similar to auto predict. You can define the cube where you want to do all the analysis. You can also define the time period, how far you want to go back to the past, and how into the future, how many time periods you want to go, 6 period, 12 period. You can define all of that. Time data intersections that are needed and the time period that is appropriate for the analysis. In step number 3, we can define how the analysis should be run. For example, it has all the metrics for all 3 insight types. For example, when you do historical, forecast, variance, and bias, then how do you want to calculate variance and how do you want to calculate bias? There are a variety of metrics that we have taken. These are standard metrics available in the field of statistics. You can select a particular metric, you can define a threshold, and then so that would be used by the insight engine. For example, quick example with this one. So we have selected MAP, which stands for mean absolute percentage error, and the threshold is 25%. What this means is this. So when I want to compare for all the intersections I have defined in my previous page, I want to quantify the variance, the forecast variance, which is the deviation of the difference between historical forecast and historical forecast and historical actuals. I want to calculate the difference using a metric called MAPI. When the variance of the difference is 25% or higher, trigger an insight. I want to know about all those intersections. That's what will be done here. Similarly, for all the other insight types as well. So I want to look at anomaly. These are the methods, standard methods that are common in anomaly detection. We can define the threshold, etc. So overall, in this page, we get to define how the IPM Insights engine would work, and we have the ability to control or customize how the analysis should be done. This is a detailed view. So at times, some of these terms could be a little new to some of the users. We have this simplified view. If we enable that, if we go for a simplified view, then a very simple question is presented in a simple narrative. We can answer that, and that setting would be used for all the analysis. Some of the recommended setting would be taken by the system, what we have set, but this simplified view could be useful for some users. In the fourth section, this is all about how insights should be displayed. When the insights are presented to the end user, as an admin, I get to define how it should look like. Of all the dimensions that are considered in this analysis or in the slice, I see that out of the 6 dimensions, entity, account, products, these matter relatively more to my planners. When insights are presented to them, they want to slice and dice insights maybe by entity. They want to know which accounts had a higher forecast variance. They want to know that. Which product categories had outliers or anomalies. They want to explore or analyze or consume the insights by these dimensions. So these are important for displays and presentation for them. And on the right hand side, we have the magnitude thresholds. When something crosses 30%, tag it as high priority insight so that the users focus here on a priority basis and take action. So this is step number 4. Overall, with these 4 steps, admin users will be able to configure creation of new insights with very minimal input or knowledge needed from data science or pattern recognition technology perspective. That's what I wanted to cover. Overall, as Mark pointed out, our vision is to help automate the data analysis part, and then help our users to focus more time on what matters the most and reduce time spent on analysis, so that they can find what matters the most in the quickest possible time, and then they can focus on more value-added tasks and collaborate more with their team members, and so that they can reduce the time spent on manual analysis and focus more on true planning and budgeting for the organization.
Yeah, and if I'll add on there, actually, nice job, Salva, with the demonstration. Just on that third point of benefits of IPM Insights. You know, it's interesting. We had we obviously worked with some early adopter customers. One of the early adopter customers was Oracle Finance. Oracle's a Fortune 100 company, so a huge company. And really, they pointed out this third point. They loved the fact that everything, all the hotspots in the data, are tracked in one place. Nothing can be forgotten. You know, it's even historical data. You're looking at where are their hotspots. So it really allows you to kind of develop a process around data analysis. Now, clearly, data analysis, there's already a process in place, but this offers a centralized place for all the hotspots, whether it's in a workforce cube or whether it's an expense cube and so forth. Just a much more centralized way of tracking issues that are going on with your business. So it was a great point. Over to you, Muthu.
Thanks, Mark and Salva. I think hopefully we got a lot of questions there, and people are really appreciating the capability here. And the demo probably was something you really got to know what this capability is all about. So like this, the three benefits, and just want to quickly get into the next part. So one of the things we want to cover here is what's this life cycle of this, how you take the data and take the action from the data. So one part is you load the actuals on a weekly basis or monthly basis in your planning cycle, forecast cycle, or when you're doing your monthly closing, you could just keep loading your data, and you get to analyze that data, and you want to look for patterns, what's whether there are any anomalies or there is any variances, and you want to go and review that with your business, with your finance and other stakeholders in your business, and then take some actions on that. So really, if you see this whole cycle, pretty much in the beginning, when you look at an automation cycle, the part which was really automated was the first part, where people will load the data and automate the loading process, and then you run some reports, and the reports are all over there for the millions of cells, as Mark pointed out. But the analysis part and the reviewing part and the taking of action part was all done by the analyst, sitting there and trying to look at all the data, the patterns, whether you're kind of doing good on revenue or cash or whatever it is, the things you want to really analyze. And then that took a lot of time. That look also was not giving you the right perspective of what the data is conveying. And it was all in the heads of the financial analyst. She or he needs to go in there and find out what was going right and what was going wrong in the business, and trying to then take that number, take it to the appropriate stakeholders, go have the discussion with them to figure out what needs to be done in the future forecast, or depending on what can be done in the budgets, or in the investment, or whatever it is. And this part is what we really want to say, that this, with this insights, with this pattern recognition technology, you can really accelerate this very fast. You can look at the data, analyze it, and get to your collaboration with the other stakeholders. And Mark, you wanted to add some more things here, right, Mark?
Yeah, no, Mutha, I think you did a great job of describing the slide. Actually, to the point here that Muthu made. I mean, we really are trying to look at whole business processes, not just a consolidation or not just a plan or a forecast, but what's the end-to-end process, and look for those opportunities to automate it, and that's precisely what it is. So, automating analysis, improving the way the users interact with each other around issues. There's a ton of time that can be taken out of and that's in the portion of the broader process, and that's precisely what this is, and we're really excited about this adoption. So thanks, Madhu.
Right. So with that, there were a lot of questions around a few of the things here which we've listed here. So we wanted to quickly go over, based on some of the initial interactions we had on this feature with some of our customers and our partners. We wanted to provide some considerations here. A couple of things. This IPM Insights capability is available in EPM Enterprise SKU, and also in the sales planning SKU, and in the future we're going to add it into the strategic workforce planning SKU. So EPM Enterprise, obviously, right now we're starting off with the planning business process, where it's going to be available for both the modules and the custom option. And in the future, we'll be adding it to the free form app type as well. And then for the financial close, TRCS, tax reporting, profitability, cost management, all of this we will be adding in the future. So we're starting off with the planning business process, where this capability is being rolled out here in the November release. but in the very near future, we will add it into the other business processes in enterprise. So importantly, given the data volumes and the kind of the things there, we are looking at only hybrid. It requires the hybrid option turned on. As you all know, the EPM enterprise is always with hybrid. And it also needs Redwood. As you saw, the UI is all new, and it has all the latest and greatest capabilities on the UI. Therefore, it needs the Redwood theme. And one of the things we have observed with some of the initial customer adoption is that when you have to configure these insights, obviously there is a little bit of looking at the data. The data needs to be really looked at, what kind of data you have, and then you'll have to go and configure the insights to really say what kind of insights you would like to see as your exceptions, or what kind of comparisons you want to do. And typically, you want to look at historical forecast data. So many a times what we've seen is some of the customers don't have historical forecast data, but they have the plan data throughout. But when it comes to forecast data, probably they override the forecast data with the actual data. And therefore, what happens then, you cannot really look at a comparison between the actual and the forecast, given that the forecast gets overridden by the actual, right? So really, you need to have the two different slices of data, one which is kind of the forecast or plan, and then the actuals. And then by any account or any metric, you can the system can go and get the patterns and get you the bias. Where is the bias? Whether there is a bias in the revenue or expense or whatever. And then we also recommend that you look at breaking down the insights into smaller groups. When you're setting this up, don't set up one big monolithic insight which kind of goes across your entire cube. So you can structure it by cubes in an application, and you can further within the cube, you can just break it down by a set of accounts, could be revenue accounts or expense account, or by entity, or whatever is the dimension where the data needs to be logically looked at by your users. But you would just break it down. Again, you don't have to go to all the details, but you could at least keep it at a high level, some groupings, and then create those insights so that you can manage it well and also get the insights based on that. And obviously, as somebody asked, whether it's only for dollars or whether it's for units, any kind of operational data, any data which is there in your cube can be used for insights, and you can do comparisons there. And then the other best practice we are recommending is that you can roll this out to a set of a small group of pilot users. At one of the customers we rolled out, they picked up one business unit, and that business unit went and ran the insights and gave us a lot of inputs and feedback out of that. So you could just go roll it out to a pilot group of users, and then figure out how the insights works, and then based on that, you can go and roll it out across the enterprise. So these were like some of the considerations. Again, we're coming out with some FAQ documents for our partners. So stay tuned on that. We'll be covering that very quickly. Now, before we go on to some more Q&A type things, we would like to introduce you to the other feature which has come out in 2111, which is what we call as bring your own ML, or ML import capability, where you could basically create an ML model in any data science platform. It could be R or Python, or it could be in Oracle's own data science platform, or Azure, or wherever. And that ML model can be directly imported into EPM, and you can map that model into the EPM's cube structure and data model. And then we have a very nice way of a wizard-based approach where you can map and then generate automatic Groovy rules, which can then be run on your EPM application. So stay tuned for this capability. This is a new feature which has come out. We're going to do a separate detailed session on this. But very importantly, this is another capability which is connected to the insights. There were a few questions on the insight side, whether you need to run auto predict or whether you can consider external drivers which will drive some of the insights and so on and so forth. Those all can be achieved with this other capability, which we are also parallelly releasing. We have released in the current month update, and this one will allow you to do what we call as multivariate prediction. So as you know, predictive planning has been there for a while in our solution, and with the ML model import, you could do any kind of ML model, and it could do multivariate predictions, which can be based on. So as an example here, you could do a univariate, which is I am predicting my sales based on my historical sales, whereas the multivariate prediction predicts my sales based on different other drivers, internal, external drivers. So stay tuned. We'll go into more detail of this particular capability in a separate session, and also walk you through some of the use cases and case studies we've been doing with a lot of our customers on this front. But the purpose of today's call has been more on the IPM Insights capability. So hopefully you got a good a sense of what the Insights capability is all about, and how you could really look at those three insight type to begin with, and how you can how it will help you automate that whole data analysis part. So with that, I'll pause here, and let's pick up on a few questions. Mark, you want to try and pick up any questions, which is interesting?
Yeah, I think one common theme, a number of folks asked about this, is I think there's some confusion on where to find it. Number one, it is important that you look at your Redwood theme. That was already answered in some of the questions. So a lot of our innovation that we're doing is in the Redwood theme. So for example, not just insights are only available in the Redwood theme, but also the kind of the open tab experience where you can have multiple tabs across the bottom of your screen. That was introduced only in the Redwood theme, and we're not doing that. All the themes are great, but it's just what we're trying to do is obviously support customers on. So we're not forcing you to change your user experience, so you can stay on some of your whatever theme you like. But what we did is we're leveraging a new framework in this Redwood theme. It has a capability in our user experience that we're not able to do in some of these other legacy type themes. So again, you're not obliged to switch to Redwood, but there's some great features in Redwood like Insights and like the multi-tab experience. So that's one thing. Hopefully that clears up that a little confusion. Also, I think a number of people who have the EPM Enterprise SKUs are looking for it and can't find it. Again, right now Insights are currently not supported by Freeform. That will change. We're gonna be supporting Freeform here in the not too distant future. But open it up in one of the other application types is what we're suggesting. And then it does look like there may have been an individual who still can't see it. They're looking in a test environment and they're looking in Enterprise and still can't see it. So I don't know if Muthi may have answered that one, but if not, just log it SR and we'll help you work through that. Muthi, that's number one. Any others you see there?
Yeah, so that ML model, so many of you are seeing the ML model one, which we will be going into more details. Obviously, ML model is available as well as part of the IPM cluster, and that is also available for some additional SKUs, like some of the legacy SKUs as well. And it just needs Groovy because we generate an automatic Groovy rule. We'll go into more details on that in a separate session. So the other question from Daniel, that is a little interesting. So if you have multiple saved forecasts, do you have to select only a single version of forecast for comparison? It's a great question. So Daniel, the way the whole the insights capability works is, especially for the forecast bias insight, what it really does, it compares actuals with one of the forecasts. Now, you can configure multiple insights for multiple forecasts. So if you are having, if you have multiple forecasts which are being updated, so you could just go and change your insights every quarter or every month to the latest forecast and compare it with your actuals. And if you want to have some parallel, if you're having parallel forecasts which you want to compare, obviously you can create a multiple insights to do that comparison and really come out with that. So it's about the configuration of which forecast you want to really look at and cover. Now, for the anomaly insight, obviously it focuses mainly on the actuals. And then the prediction insights looks at your, again, the same type of multiple forecasts can be compared against a prediction, which is coming out of the statistical forecasting. So really, you can go and compare, you can go compare against multiple forecasts. But at point in time, an insight really looks at one forecast versus the actual. So basically, it compares two scenarios across your data and then comes out with the exceptions. So insights basically the signal and the exceptions based on different thresholds and different metrics, which are or which are data science nature metrics which are out there. Hopefully that answered your question, Daniel. Right. So any other questions you want to pick up, Mark?
Just one there from Jim. Thank you, Jim. Your comment on bring your own ML. If you're still there online, yeah, we'll have a webcast probably scheduled in December to go do a deep dive on the ML model import. We're really excited about both these features, but what we realized here is both these features are there's a little bit of thought and process change in it, so we didn't want to try to just breeze by both of them. So we'll have a deeper dive on ML model import probably in December, but hopefully this answered most of the questions folks have around insights. So stay tuned on that. Jim, if you want to learn about it earlier, always feel free to reach out to product management. We'd be happy to have a one-on-one discussion if it's urgent. Thank you. I don't see any other questions, Muthu. So anything else you want to finish up with, or just kind of wrap up from there?
No, I think a lot of questions. Obviously, we'll publish this Q&A also in the Customer Connect event post. And please do take a look at the